We gon' holler about the same.
What's good, and welcome to another episode of They Gon' Feel Me podcast. I am your host, Rees, and this is episode 40. And as we always say, if this is your first time, listen to me now. If this is your first time watching They Gon' Feel Me podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like, click the bell for notifications, share, and tell a friend to tell a friend because we trying to get on. But anyway, I'm here with my co-host. I got my boy Chris, the little slaw dude. Got my boy Drew Lee, Brian down there, and my boy Al C with a name too long to pronounce. So, you know what I'm saying? Let's just get into this show. You know what I'm saying? How y'all fellas doing though, first off?
Good, good, good.
Chilling and shit and shit.
Ready to rock the motherfucker,
We
boy.
was ready to do some podding. So, you know what I'm saying? On the most recent episode of Pvalley, I believe it was episode 6, we had your boy Big Teak. You know, he took his own life. And that brings about the question of mental health. And, a lot of people are going through a lot of things these days with social media. And, it's just a lot of pressure on people, mentally. So, we want to get you guys' thoughts on that episode and mental health in general and how, it's affecting people and you guys. What are you guys' thoughts?
Honestly, I gotta salute. I gotta salute P Valley though. For
I was gonna say
keeping
the same
for
thing.
keeping it real. This season, they're tackling a lot of heavy issues. Whether it's suicide, mental health, what we're talking about, abuse, which they talked about the episode before this one in regard to Mississippi, and also the colorism, which actually has been ever present since the initial episode with Autumn Night. Her whole character is the embodiment of colorism, but specifically to this point in dealing with Big T, man, it's so much to unpack, um, because at one point, if you look at it, you would think that prison, did it to him. But when I went back and watched the episode, he was already on track before then, because he had made the comment that his mom, he witnessed his mom kill his siblings, and he was supposed to be next, but he hid in the closet and did whatever. So he was already traumatized, way before he even went to jail. So that trauma is something that a lot of people, um, in our community, just don't really have, one, the wherewithal to deal with, or the the knowledge to be like, hey, I need to go talk to somebody, because there's still a stigma. There's still a lot of mystery surrounding, because when you say mental health, even though it's getting more airtime and people are talking more about it, it's still some mystery around it. There's still some gray areas, some unknown pieces about it, and I think this episode does a really great deal to shed some light to it. But I'll let you other brothers chime in and come back with some more thoughts.
I will say that I was going to say the exact same thing about like kudos to this show because at first, you know, you think it's about like hood shit or like stripping and some of the characters, they seem like contradictions or caricatures wrapped in a bad Southern accent, but that's a whole different episode. But like, still, like even the characters are at times very well fleshed out, especially the character of Lil Murder. Like, I think the flip side of this is his handling. Just seeing his kind of decline. In the last few moments of the show, and him saying, "I'm not all right." Because like he just witnessed. his lover, in essence, like kill himself in front of him, and just knowing that he tried to give that man the world, like
Mhm.
to show love because of the whole taking care of him in prison thing, and you know that still wasn't enough. And a lot of people know people who are victims too, like their demons, their you know issues that they have going on. A lot of people are clinically depressed, mentally unhinged, and and that's not to demonize these people who are going through things, but like I mean, a lot of people are just going through shit, and this shows how it affects not only the person but also the people around them, and I think that's real powerful. It's sad to see a character like Teak just basically kind of be a victim. No matter how much he may seem like he a bad guy who's done bad things, it almost seems as if like the trajectory of his life specifically was spurred by all the trauma he experienced early on, and what influences, what counseling did he ever get? He just kind of spiraled, it seemed, and just and threw in a hole and locked away, and treated like a piece of garbage. Like I mean, the only person that probably ever did treat him special was, this character, and how that pertains to other people. I think there's just a lot of people in the community that basically are just kind of getting railroaded, overlooked, don't deal with like their mental issues in a healthy and consistent way, and as a byproduct, you get things like this. You get instances like this. There's a lot of people who, we don't talk about suicides in the community
Yeah.
the same at all. Like when it's all said and done.
I mean, when you said that about like it was nothing that Lil Murder could do, it kind of made me think about that young lady, the Arlana Miller, the girl that committed suicide at that went to that HBCU that was in college, and she wrote that letter, and she said her family would try to console her, and try to help her through her depression, and she wrote a letter, and despite all of their efforts, she still took her own life, because it was just nothing that they could do, no matter how hard you try. When somebody's going through something like that, that's deep rooted inside of them, they really need help. They really need therapy. They really need, to, get it out some way, because it really is like demons, like eating away at them. And the only way that they feel like they can get over it or get, to stop it is to take their own life, to stop those voices inside their head. It's to just take to end it because they can't bear it anymore. And it's sad, I think, people go through it in spurts, they may have those thoughts in their head, but when you get to that point where you're willing to take your own life, that's really like the lowest point in somebody's life, I feel like. Uh and it's kind of sad almost.
You just gotta with with a situation like that, man, with the whole mental health thing. I mean, that's just something that just wasn't. I feel like in our community, and even just with young people in general, it wasn't talked about enough. We didn't look at our mental health and stuff like that. We took it for granted because we felt like, oh, if this is going on, that's going on, I'll be okay. I'll be fine. Your parents told you to be tough and told you to brush it off. And as you get older, you really start to, like, if you're trying to keep living or you're trying to get over it, you really start to kind of take a step back and think about a lot of things, so that way you don't commit that act. You know what I mean? But I mean, it affects a lot of people. It affected me when I was young. I remember hearing voices and almost taking my own life, and I had to run out the house. I was so scared. You know what I'm saying? It was like you just never know what anyone is going through. And I mean, this episode talking about mental health, this is something that my wife went through with her baby's father. You know what I'm saying? Like literally the exact same situation. She just wasn't there. You know what I mean? So it's like that hit home for her, and I had to pause the episode and make sure she was okay. I was afraid to even start it back up because we didn't think that was going to happen. But like anytime something like that happens in a show, that triggers her. You know what I mean? And I mean that's something that she's still dealing with. So it's just, you never know what anyone is going through. Just talking, like, if we're taking it back to the character, like if you pay attention to Lil Murder could have been dropped off multiple times, but he already knew what Teak was gonna try to do. So that's why he was like, man, I'm with you all day. I ride through the hood with you, whatever. I'm not going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Because he knew what would possibly happen because he was seeing why he was so upset. Everybody was wondering why he was so upset and thinking he was just acting outlandish, but he was really like going through stuff. And I remember seeing like during the episode when he walked past that closet and he saw where he was hiding at. At that point I knew I was like, man, he ain't gonna make it past the show. He ain't gonna make it past this one. I mean, you just got to think about how many people drive down the street and it triggers them, smell something and it triggers them. Like it's times now where I can smell a cologne that I have and it'll bring up a memory that I had with my first wife, God rest her soul, right? Or I can look at something and it'll bring up something that happened in the past that I felt was traumatic to me. So you mean you never know what people are going through. And I will say, big ups to definitely the black community because I'm hearing a lot of. I heard this on the radio the other day. I think it was on Ricky Smiley's show. They were talking about how a lot of the young black African American men and women are starting to actually take their mental health serious, and they're going and getting that therapy. So big ups to you and anybody who's dealing with anything. Go to therapy. It's nothing like talking to somebody who does not know you. You can't always sometimes talk to your family, talk to your friends. You have to talk to that stranger that's licensed to be able to help you because other people, you may not trust them. You may think they're going to take your issues and run with them and go embarrass you. But this person is here solely to help you. So to those who are questioning it, thinking that should I do it? Should I not do it? I don't know. If you're on the fence, that should be your driving factor to go. If you already thinking about going to get therapy, go get it ASAP.
That was
So
that was a poignant part in that episode, and I think Alex he spoke to it kind of where it talks about suicide and its effect on other people outside of just the person that just commits it because Lamurda was taking on all this weight. You know what I'm saying? He was taking on all this weight, and he was like, I felt guilty, for putting you through that, making me being at fault for you going to the hole and all that kind of stuff. But then when Big Teak actually told him, like, man, you thought that was the first time I ever been in the hole? I've been there before. And that's when he told him the actual story about the three,
the teardrops.
Teardrops, on his face. A lot of times people take that weight. They take that weight and think, I wish I could have did more, or this my fault.
Yeah.
Or this understand there. No, it's not your fault. You can only do so much as a person. The best thing you can do is to be there to listen and to alert somebody when you see those red flags. Now that is what you can do. There is a new number. It's 988. You text that number. That's the suicide hotline. It's 988. If you see somebody I'm talking about, their personality has changed. They used to be bubbly, outgoing, or whatever. Now they're withdrawn, low appetite. There are red flags all over the building. Tell someone. And I'll say this. I recently over the summer, I already made up in my mind, hey, this was something I was gonna start doing because I hadn't went to a counseling session in like 14 years. So I started this summer and I've had like four sessions over the summer, and I tell anybody, like I said, I'm speaking from experience. I can't talk about what nobody else has done. I can only talk from my experience. And when you go in and just being honest, it feels like a weight, has been taken off of you when you go in and just talk. And it's cool and you learn a lot about yourself, because a lot of times we lie to ourselves. We can always, you can lie to yourself like, man, I'm good, or man, I'm doing this, or whatever. But if you go to a really good counselor that's gonna hold you up and hold that mirror up and reflect back to you, you can't run So you have to answer those. You have to answer those questions that you've been lying about. Like, hey, why is this not going right in my life, or why is this not doing this? And you have to take inventory of your own actions. Like, what am I doing? What am I doing that's not cohesive, or what do I need to work? What do I need to work on? So I will say this about counseling: it works if you work with it. If you're honest, if you if you give 100% effort going into it, it would definitely benefit you instead of going in like, I ain't finna talk to these folks, I ain't finna tell nobody nothing. And this last thing I will say about it, African Americans, us, make sure you get a culturally competent counselor. Meaning, you can't talk like Chris said, you can't talk to. There are certain things in our culture only we gonna understand. So do your research. Go out there, hey, find you a culturally competent counselor, somebody that you can talk to, whether it's a mother figure or whether it's a male, where you feel more comfortable talking to a male, older male. Just do your homework though.
All right. Anybody else got anything to share about the topic?
Nah, maybe if I ever share anything else, maybe I'll do it on a separate occasion. But
Well, you know what I'm saying? Like Rob said, man, y'all go out there and get counseling. It's a great thing that more people are realizing their mental health deficiencies, and really trying to seek counseling and get right. So everybody, man, if you're going through something, just talk to somebody. Go seek therapy, or if you don't feel comfortable, then talk to somebody, open up to somebody. But anyway, moving on to the next topic. We had, your girl Lizzo on the Breakfast Club talking about non-traditional relationships, and she mentioned that to her monogamy is claustrophobic. So what do you guys think about non-traditional relationships and monogamy, and polygamy and all those types of things that are being thrown around nowadays, with open relationships and everything?
I've had a conversation with like a family member, as well as a conversation with like one of my friends who moved. He moved to like, I think, Portland or somewhere in the Midwest, where apparently having polyamorous relationships is a big thing. Like, you might get approached by somebody who says, "Hey, I already got a girlfriend. I want you to be the third." And apparently that's just more and more of a thing, with this newer generation, which sounds weird. I think we come enough from a classic background where, the idea of, and I got a side piece, because like like the lines of main chick and side chick blur is weird. But I don't know. First and foremost, it's her business. Let's whatever works for two people, or three or four people, whatever. Whatever works for you is what works for you. But like, I don't know. It's kind of like, it's just what works for other people is kind of like their thing, their kink, their glue. And I don't know. I think it's kind of like, maybe it does relate back to like the mental health thing, from a standpoint of, I'm not saying that you're mentally deficient because you can't commit, or like you want to have multiple partners, or you just want to have an open relationship. But she talked about things about like polyamory and not liking labels, and I don't know. It kind of goes to this idea. I feel this thing with this generation where the classic notions of how we look at everyday things all comes into question, and they want to rewrite the book on everything. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but it to challenge such conventions, it's normal for you, not necessarily normal for everybody else. And it's hard to have any formalized opinion. For me, the person like myself, I just know it's not something I would necessarily want. But like at the same time, I can't tell somebody else what to do with their life, their body, and their happiness. It's just a weird thing.
Honestly, like I said, if that's what she wants to do, that's that's on her. But everybody is entitled to their own opinion. You can have it. You can have your opinion. You can have your opinion on something, and that's uh, just like everybody. I mean, opinions are like any body part. Everybody got one. So anytime,
Assholes. That's how that goes.
okay, you said it. I
Booty
did.
holes, cuz booty holes.
The thing when I hear stuff like that, my question is why. My question is what's the point? You know, um, you have people that they'll say I'm free. I don't want to have any labels. I don't want to have any boundaries. We just want to love, just love it. Okay, until something happens. Until something happen, and because there's one thing that I don't care what folks say. At some point, somebody is gonna get their feelings hurt. You gonna see that person talking with somebody, and you think they a little too close. You think they flirting with that person. They doing something maybe that's inappropriate, and then they hit you back with, I thought everything was cool. I thought we was in an open, you know what I'm saying? I thought it was an open relationship. I thought we didn't want to have no labels. And now, you know, somebody done got all in their feelings. I think it's hard.
I think that's the reason why she says she likes it like that, though, because she's, especially with, I don't care what she said. You can be as comfortable in your skin as you want to be, right? But I mean, her size, people talk about that all of the time. And she could be afraid that, she's going to love somebody, get involved, and then they're going to hurt her, which goes back to the mental health thing. I'm not saying that that's what's happening, but I'm just saying that could be a factor. So maybe that's the reason why she's like, you know what? I don't want to put a label on it. I just want to love. I just want to this, that, and the third. If they want to put a label on it, you know what I'm saying? That's fine. Just love me. I just want to love this, that, and the third. Because that way, if she does see this person talking to somebody else and she, starts to think that way, she can step back and be like, oh, well, hold on. Why am I in my feelings? I already told them this ain't no serious relationship anyway. We fucking off pretty much. So, we love each other and we having sex here and there, but we ain't boyfriend or girlfriend or, fiance or husband and wife, whatever the case may be. So that could be the reason as to why she's doing it.
I think it's just that facade of always talking about love. I mean, I agree with her. I can love you forever, and the concept of like being able to love for somebody for like a long period of time and like other factors around it, not necessarily obtaining that love, but I don't know. People's concept and of love is different from person to person, and I don't know. My idea of love, or just it's kind of like I don't want to like tell somebody else this is what love is, but like, I mean, is it really love to basically say, oh, I love you, but with an asterisk, or I love you, but with a hall pass option? Like, I mean, like, I don't want to, I mean, it's like you don't want to get into some normative thing, like trying to baseline what love is to everybody, what it should be to everybody, but it's also kind of like at what point do you draw a line and be like, that ain't love? Or just even be able to say like, hey, yo, you don't want a relationship, you want a situationship, and don't try to spin it as if like, oh, it's all about freedom. Like, I mean, at some point it does sometimes feel like it's a whole bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I personally I think it's a bunch of BS. I think a lot of people use it as like Chris said, it's a coping mechanism almost. It's like, I don't want to be hurt. So I'd rather be in an open relationship and, both of us be able to move freely than us be in a committed relationship and this person cheats on me and I catch feelings, because this person has, basically went out and lied to me and did these things behind my back. The thing I hate about these open relationships is even though they're open relationships, you still have rules. It's like you can't talk to this type of person. You can't, you can't do this. You can't do. Is it really free? Because if it was really free, then there would be no rules.
In fairness, she does specify that like there's and the relationship she wants doesn't require rules.
Yeah, and I mean that's cool, that's her. But when you listen to a lot of people talk about it, it's like you can't sleep with this person multiple times, or you can't, you know what I'm saying? You can't have, you can't talk to this specific type of person, and to me that's not an open relate. That's not the kind of relationship that you're describing to me personally. If it's open, why is it a problem if I sleep with this person multiple times? Because that goes back to now you catching feelings. You're mad because I may be catching feelings for this person because you feel like if I'm sleeping with them multiple times, then I have to have some kind of connection to them, and that's
Yeah.
not an open relationship. And at the
It
end of the day,
the
in my opinion,
undercurrent, yeah, the undercurrent to all this is just a fear of commitment.
yeah, it's just
I
a fear
mean,
of commitment.
let's just call it what it is. It's just a fear of commitment. Because think about what you just said, LC. Think about that. Is that even really a relationship? You know what I'm
And I think a
saying?
lot of people throw around that word, the love word. It's not love, man. A lot of people fall in lust of somebody. Like y'all, you want to. They so quick to throw out the love word,
Well,
and yeah, you could
go
have
ahead.
feelings for somebody. You could have feelings for somebody, and you may have love for them, but to be in love and to have love for somebody is two completely different things. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I feel like a lot of people, when they throw around that word love, it's like you're not in love with that person. You just love the idea of that person. You know what I'm saying? You love who that person represents. You're not in love with that person, who that person is. You know what I'm saying?
Because
I
to
get.
me,
Go
I
ahead.
was because to me it just seems like you got one foot in and one foot out. Like you
Straddling the
just hear.
fence.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you just hear as long as you can get what you can get out of it. But as long, I mean, but
Mhm.
when it seems like it's going downhill, bam! Hey, I wasn't that committed no way.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm getting out
I
of it.
I do understand that concept of that strange love. I mean, I've seen that before. I've experienced that before from the standpoint of I've had family members that basically like we're married but we live in two separate houses, and like I'll never divorce you, but like at the same time I'm doing my own thing out here, and you know it's I think it boils down to an individual thing of that shit ain't for me. But like that's not to say that it don't work. And I
What's
don't
the purpose though?
I mean,
some people
I
don't
just feel
want
like that's not.
to.
I feel like a lot of people are so comfortable with somebody sometimes and they will rather just stay in that relationship than take the time to get a divorce or separate from that person because
Convenience.
Because it's
it's
almost seems like
convenient.
a
It's a
business deal,
convenience. Yeah,
like a
that to
business.
me,
Nah,
like
nah, it's convenience.
if y'all it's convenience, and it's like if you're sleeping in a totally different place from this person, but y'all are still married. What's the purpose of that?
That's what I'm
Like, why
saying.
Well,
not go
It's
on
a
ahead and get a
business deal,
divorce?
dog.
That's
well,
not it.
well, but not necessarily. I mean, if you just doing it because you don't want to lose half your shit in a divorce, yeah, that's a business deal. But like, I think I do also see the concept of I don't want to miss this person. I don't want to let go of this person because like there's a connection that we do have. But yet at the same time, you want the freedom of not necessarily putting on labels and also not being tethered to them just in case something else comes along. But no matter what comes along, I'm always going to come back to this particular person. I
Don't
mean,
you
it's
don't
kind of
you don't
selfish.
you don't see
That's
that
kind of
as
that's
being
self.
selfish. You
Yeah,
don't see
that's
that as being
selfish
Yeah,
to
yeah,
me.
selfish.
no.
That's
I
definitely
personally see it as being
that's
completely
not
selfish,
healthy.
but
It's not
it's
healthy
it's
either.
also kind of. But for some people, they use it as if you're gonna cheat, at least cheat in my face, as opposed to behind my back. Like I
I
mean,
mean, dog, all that is toxic. I mean, that's
Again, that
dysfunctional
goes
and
back,
toxic.
and that goes back to mental health, and it's just like and I think people repeat that pattern because they see it so many times from the people before them. How many like people's parents had they seen be together and they totally hate each other. They dislike one another, but they stuck together before the kids, or because like Al C said, they didn't want to lose half their shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And
so they stayed
some
together.
people
and
work better broken though.
and I think that's the biggest misconception out there. Like people talk about, hey, we're gonna stay together for the kids. When in actuality, you're doing more damage by
Yeah,
staying
'cause
together
your
because
kids,
kids are not foolish. Kids
yeah,
can pick up. They can pick up between parents. Like if it ain't no love there, if it ain't no warmth or no nothing there, they understand when they just coexisting. They basically roommates. You know what I'm saying? You're not helping the kids by staying together. You're better
right.
off just being apart and explaining it to them like, hey, mommy and daddy are no longer together. We still love you. It has nothing to do with you. Now it's important that you explain it to them. That's very important that you explain it to them because if you don't, they might walk around thinking, hey, it's our fault. It's our fault or it's my fault that my parents broke up. But you have to explain to them, hey, this is an adult situation. This is an adult problem. This ain't got nothing to do. This ain't got nothing to do with y'all. We still love y'all, but we are just not together anymore. So, man,
Well,
It just
well,
that,
what? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that situation though. Like I mean, I see it both ways when you have a child. You know what I mean? Because you you even though you know the children see it, you bat a blind eye. Like going back to mental health again, man, they don't see that. They all right, they don't see they don't hear us arguing. You know what I'm saying? And you ironically, you try to stick it together for the kids. You try to tough it out and stick it out for the kids, so your kids don't see you and your significant other separated. I know somebody who went through that exact same thing, and finally got a divorce years later, but they didn't want to do it because they were in the church and they were a public eye in the church, and they didn't want to be seen as, oh, this person that got a divorce. You know what I mean? Like, how are you preaching one thing, but then you doing another? Because we all know that everyone in church says divorce is a sin. But I've always said that, I'm not going to be with someone if I'm not happy. I just can't see myself doing it. I don't care what the situation is. But, going back to this, I mean, it's a scapegoat. It's a coping mechanism. It's everything you can think of. It's selfish. It's all of that. I'm not gonna be fully committed. I feel like that's claustrophobic. I feel like why is being in a committed relationship claustrophobic? Loves you for you, then you shouldn't have a problem being in this relationship. I.e., a person like Lori Harvey, like I said multiple episodes ago. People that do these things and say stuff like this, I don't want to hear them on the mainstream, on social media, on Twitter, on a talk show talking about, I let this one go. Oh, I wish I would have went on ahead and went through with love at this point in time, because 9 times out of 10 it's gonna come back to bite you unless you just completely living free out here like Madonna or some shit. It's like, if you ain't like
Sound
that
like that.
and you really want to be in a committed relationship, you're just afraid, then I mean that's something you need to go talk to a counselor about.
I mean, speaking of talking about being in a committed relationships, and since we was talking about non-traditional relationships, uh this brings about, Jazzy, Cam Newton's girlfriend, speaking on submission. She's actually wanting to be in a more traditional relationship. So, and she spoke about all the things that she does for Cam Newton, and, her thoughts on submission. And, she had a whole list of things that she does for Cam Newton, like rubbing I believe his back until he goes to sleep, and, packing his bags and cooking his dinner, and all these things that she feels that a submissive woman should do and that she does for her man. So what are you guys thoughts on a more traditional woman and a submissive woman, as Jazzy says?
Again, I think, whatever works for you in your relationships works for you in your relationship. The thing that I hate is, after seeing that video, going, as we always do, going under the comments, and you see so many people, of course this came from a woman, so you see so many women, oh, I ain't doing that, I ain't doing this, I ain't doing that, but then you put stipulations on us. Oh, you got to make this much, you got to do this, you got to take care of this, you got to do that. Like, how can you put stipulations on me, but you ain't even willing to do half of the shit that this person is doing? You know what I'm saying? As far as bringing to the table, all you have is a vagina. That means absolutely nothing. I can get that from anybody. What else do you bring to the table? How do you stimulate my mind? How do you know who I am as a person? You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, she may have went overboard with some of the stuff. We may not. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't want you touching my fucking feet, Cause my shits ain't never right. All right. So I don't want you touching my feet. But I mean, like, damn, the cooking and shit like that. Like, I mean, the other shit, like, I don't see what's wrong with it. But why are you so quick to knock it? And then you knock it, and then you end up like Lizzo or Lori Harvey, single for the rest of your life.
I don't know. I think I applaud Jazzy for, you know, her love language being so giving. I think she was trying to keep the cringe factor down and describing how she likes to love on her man. And I want to believe that I get it. But like I will also equally say, I think how that doesn't work for some women is it's how we don't live in such a classic society where women are subservient. Women are, you know, basically, you know, we have women that are breadwinners, women that are opinionated, women that are trendsetters and own companies, and they're no longer somebody's little, you know, arm candy. There's somebody out there who gets to wear the pants too. And it's kind of hard especially with the standards that we hold our black women to. We talked about a while back, you know, the concept of the strong black woman. You know, when you got to be the strong black woman who basically is keeping all her shit together, you're like this power ass, you know, person, you know, this boss figure of sorts, whether it's a facade or not, you know, being that for such a long time, then having to bring somebody else into the fold and basically having to share or even give up some of your power, you know, to somebody and do all these submissive things, that's going to sound alien to you. It's like, you know, it's going to just completely sound alien to you. And I think the backlash comes in people who basically reject that classic, you know, trope of I'm the woman, so now I got to basically wait on a man hand and foot. And it's not even necessarily about being his slave or being his servant as much as being his piece. I think that's what she more wanted to get across. But a lot of folk ain't built like that nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people knock it because that's just not how they grew up. You know what I'm saying? They didn't grow up seeing that. A lot of people grew up, you know, in single parent households. They saw their mom, you know, taking care of all the responsibilities, you know, not taking anything from no man, you know, being strong, like Alcee alluded to. And they just don't know, you know, how to be quote unquote submissive. To me, submissive isn't about cooking and cleaning and, you know, all these things, these traditional things that women bring up. Like Alcee said, it's about just being peaceful. It's about being agreeable with your man, not fighting with him every turn. At every turn, you got some shit to say, you know, back to him about something that he has an opinion on. That's, you know what I'm saying? Like it's more than just cooking and cleaning. Like to me, being submissive. It's a partnership. I submit to you, and men submit to their women too. You know, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I think people have this whole notion of submission just twisted, and they think it's this, you know, these traditional gender roles. A man has to provide, you know, make all the money, and you know, he has to do all these things, this list of things, and a woman has to do this list of things, and that's not how it is. You just got to work together, bro. And you know, if I have more knowledge in a certain area, then you submit to my knowledge of these things. And you know, I take leadership in this aspect of our relationship, and vice versa, bro. Like, you know, work together. It's a partnership, you know, especially nowadays when it's, you know, women are making as much money as men, you know, and some women are making more money than men, you know. So if my wife's going to work every day and I'm at home, why would I want her to come home and cook and clean and do all those things when I can easily do it myself? And I've been taught and raised to do those things. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you have to help her, you know, bring her some peace too, and you know, allow her to be feminine. She can't be feminine if she got to do all the damn everything. She got to do all the work. She got to go make money. Then she got to come home and cook and clean for you. Then you want her to have sex with you. I mean, like, what kind of relationship is that, bro? What are you giving into the relationship, and vice versa? You know what I'm saying? That ain't enough. Like, and half these niggas dick be trash anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, bro, Like,
Whoa there.
It's
But
all game,
it
cuz.
goes to me it goes to like, I mean, you got marriage, and then outside of being married, you have relationships. If it's a serious relationship, what are relationships? Relationships are practice, for when you get married. And when you get married, you got to think about the vows. Think about the vows that you take. In sickness and distress, to death do you part. You are to be with this person. You are to be. It didn't say women. You are to be the slave of your husband, and the men you are to be the slave master of your wife. You guys are working. You guys are working together. But by the same token, the man is supposed to be the head of the household. Now, I mean, regardless of who making money or whatever, you are the male figure in the household. You're supposed to be the head of the household. So part of that being a woman allowing you to be a man, and she being a woman, understanding, being comfortable in your maleness, and allowing her to be comfortable in her femaleness. Now, what that looks like in a relationship for you, that's for y'all. Because like you said, there are different kinds of love languages out there. Some people love for you to tell them, baby, I love you 15 different times a day. Some people like gifts. Some people like acts of service. They're all different kinds of love language. And just because one person does service, it doesn't mean that that's how everybody need to be. Too many times we see examples or people talk about, hey, this is what I do for my man. And you ain't no real woman if you don't do it just like I do it.
Right.
And people love comparing themselves to other folks for whatever reason, whether it's on social media or whatever. You see how somebody else do it, and you always compare yourself. Guess what? You ain't them. Do what work for you. You know what I'm saying? Whatever makes y'all happy at the end of the day. Because we got 4 different folks right here. We got 4 completely, totally different folks. We got 2 brothers, 2 frat brothers. Guess what? What worked for Reezy and Terry might not work for me and my wife. What worked for Jace and Elsie might not work for Chris and Lex. But it's cool though. I mean, they'll have 4 healthy relationships, and they ain't got to be the same. So as long as you are working with your partner and making sure your partner is happy and secure in their relationship, forget what everybody else doing. As long as that person ain't abusing you verbally, physically, mentally, or anything like that, as long as you are happy in your relationship, do you?
I will. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ozzy. Go ahead.
Well, now, I will contradict Rob just a little bit, like something he said in the beginning of it, where he said that we date to like practice for marriage, and it's kind of like the one thing that I have a problem with Jazzy's whole little thing. And maybe it goes to the point of like what Lizzo talking about. Like, I don't necessarily think you should. Some people are just dating for sport. Some people are just dating casually, and that's completely fine. They date just to, I don't know, get their rocks off.
What's the purpose of dating?
Maybe you just want to get your rocks off. Like some people, you know what? People be trying to force
relationships. What's the purpose of dating?
I'm just saying, like some people I've dated just because like I thought they were cute, and I wanted to touch bellies with them. Like,
did you learn anything about it?
I learned how her belly felt against mine. Like,
did you learn anything else from the relationship though?
I learned how much of they shit I can get tired of over time. Like, my point is that like, the people who aren't necessarily dating to get married, I feel as if like with the Jazzy, maybe she is dating to get married. Maybe Cam is on the same wavelength, but I will say one thing that I hear out of her, what she had to say is, it feels as if like she giving a lot of wife, perks to this man. And I feel as if some people need to dial that back. You shouldn't be giving wife perks, with your boyfriend, until y'all are actually on that same wavelength and ready to get married.
But
I'm
this is why I
that would
say
be my
that.
thing.
This is why I say that whether knowingly or whether subconsciously or consciously, you're dating in people in general. You're dating to get married,
Yeah, to
whether
get married.
you get married or not. Because guess what? When you even that person that you just think is cute, guess what? You're still learning. You're still learning what you do and what you don't like.
I
Because
learned something.
you thought she was fine.
The
You were
color of the
like, hey,
panties.
I'm
Yeah.
finna talk to her. It is what it is, but you're learning. You're like, hey, she fine. But then when you start to talk to her and listen and see her personality, you're like, I don't think I want to. So guess what? Guess what happens then? That goes into my filing cabinet. Like, hey, I know I don't want to mess with somebody that's crazy or somebody that's egotistical. Why? Because this last chick I messed with, she was fine, but she was egotistical. Guess what? So now I got that in my head. I don't want to mess with somebody else, and I know I don't want anything long term with somebody that's egotistical. So whether we realize it or not, we're dating. We're dating to get married because you're learning things about people who you do want to be with and who you don't want to be with, whether you think it's just to get them draws or not. I'm just saying.
Okay. What did
All
you
right.
have to say?
You got something to say, Chris?
I was just gonna say next time Reezy and his wife go on a trip, let me know so I can tell my wife to delete her goddamn Facebook, Instagram, because I'm tired of thinking about going on a trip. We just moved to Texas.
Yo.
Chill. All right. I ain't got them ends like
Hey,
that. I'm
man.
assed out. Word to Martin.
It. I ain't got them ends either.
Take your
But
ass
anyway.
Sonic. Chick-fil-A, 8-piece grill. I ordered it through an app. I get the free drink. Stop playing.
Not the Uber Eats points.
Boy, using them coupons as a
Uber Eats some liquor. You get this Uber Meats. Stop playing.
Moving right along.
Recently, we had, we have had a couple of disputes within our community. We've had, Lamar Jackson and the Pollard. I think his name was something Bernard Pollard. Them two, and then we had Gilly the Kid and Rick Ross get into. They got into a little heated back and forth. So what do that brings about this point of, why do we feel as Black people we have to bring each other down? You also could loop in Monique and DL Hughley into this too. You had them two, and it's just like this thing where we want to tear each other down instead of building each other up. Even if we have issues with one another, I just feel like it's always us, in the forefront, in the spotlight, dragging each other through the mud, and you rarely see this with other cultures, tearing each other down. So what do you guys think about this crab in a bucket mentality and how we treat one another in media and things of that nature?
I will say, go ahead.
You go ahead.
I will say that I remember I posted a long time ago, and I've tried to live to it as much as I basically can. I don't agree with the concept of tearing down Black people in public venues. I mean, true enough, like people like, let's say, Kanye West or Terry Crews, like people like that. Like, they become, cannon fodder or whatever you want to call it. But like, I mean, I don't like tearing down other Black people. I even got to the point where, obviously I'm a dark skinned person. I don't like saying, you acting light skinned or I'm dark, like that whole, it's joke. I mean, true enough, we in the Black community, we say it's jokes, but it's kind of like if you say it over and over again, like at some point people going to start believing it. and associating, oh, this person is better at this because they light skin, they're better at this because they dark skin. I don't even like that. I really, I mean, I would love to believe that the only time that like I'm tearing down somebody who happens to also look like me is joking in a joking way, and everybody knows it's a joke, or because they really deserve it, because and now it's kind of like on site, fuck you for the rest of your life, like, and I don't care if everything you ever do fails to succeed. But as a collective, I'm all for Black people being great and successful. It's just like, but I will say that it kind of is just like that slave mentality that has been bred in us for a very long time. And it's kind of like if you keep on down that road with that kind of mentality, it manifests itself in like the strangest of places, and like it persists. It's a little bit different for us, like compared against other races, because like how we've classically been pitted against each other, and it plays out. And when it plays out in media, it's just a very ugly thing to me.
I feel like it happens in every race. It's just like amplified. It's kind of like black on black crime, right? I mean, you see white on white crime, you see Asian on Asian crime, you just don't fucking hear about it. All you hear about is the black on black crime because we're I guess. I don't know. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's stupid. It's tasteless. It makes no sense. Like we were saying beforehand, on Gilly's hand, you can't have a show called $1 Million Worth of Game wanting to give game to the younger generation to keep them out of situations like this. But then you're in a situation like this and you're not understanding the business behind what Rick Ross is doing. So, I mean, it makes that makes no sense. And I mean, a nigga owning cows, like, have you seen inflation? Do you know what inflation is? Do you know what the price of food is went up to? So just imagine if this nigga owns as many cows as he does, and he's breeding these cows, and now he's his own farmer and selling meat to these major corporations. That's just more money streams coming in for him. You know what I mean? And then with the Lamar thing, I've when it comes to sports, I've always rooted, especially in football, I've always rooted for the black quarterback, no matter what. Even if I couldn't stand you in college, I've always rooted for the black quarterback. I want to see you get not even just a black quarterback, any minority quarterback, right? But definitely the black quarterback. I've always rooted for him. I want to see you get your ends. I want to see you have longevity, records, win Super Bowls, whatever the case may be. I want to see that be done. And when you look at the things that Lamar has done, the boy don't get enough credit at the end of the day, right? We always questioning whether he can throw. We always questioning whether he can do X, Y, and Z, this, that, and the third, but we've seen people who are lesser get praised, you know what I mean, for doing their job. And this dude is doing beyond his job, right? I mean, if you go back to last year looking at their record, and I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan, looking at their record, the boy led them to over 500 winning record 8 games into the season, and then he got hurt because he was trying to carry the team on his back. Like, I mean, what do you expect? You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, give the dude praise. The dude coming in has broken so many records. He's equated like I think 13 or 14,000 yards or something like that in his 3 years playing quarterback. I mean, come on, bro. Like, if that was a Manning, you'd be sucking that dude off right now. The league would be sucking him off. If Peyton Manning's nephew was out there doing that, or if we see Matt Stafford or anybody come out there and do that, we sucking them off. But black quarterback doing it, everybody talking about, instead of the headline being, hey, what a great game, or this, that, and the third, what is Lamar missing? What is this person missing? What is that person missing? You know what I mean? So it's crazy. It's crazy to see what's going on. And I mean, it's shameful to see that this dude bashing. I mean, he playing for the team that you won a Super Bowl with. Like, you should be wanting him to go out there and succeed and take your team back to the Super Bowl again. But clearly it's not the case.
Bro. Everybody know. I mean, I'm HBCU through and through. So you already know I'm rooting for all black everything. Black quarterback, black head coach, black water boy. But my problem with Bernard Pollard is you're echoing some of the main things that historically whites have used or racists have used in denigrating the black quarterback, saying that, hey, Lamar is a top 10 athlete, but he's not a top 10 quarterback. Think of how many quarterbacks are athletic who they've held that against. I mean, they hated on Dak Prescott. When he signed his contract just last year, talk bad about him. You would think he couldn't. You would think he was a serial killer. The way they talked about Dak Prescott. Um, you look at the Michael Vicks of the world. You look at the Randall Cunninghams, the Dante Culpeppers, the Steve McNairs. Throughout history, the Donovan McNabbs, the things that they've had to go through. I'm like, dude, stop trying. I mean, stop setting obstacles. Again, I mean, for other brothers to jump over. I mean, if you don't like the guy, just keep that to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Instead of hating on a brother, that just irks.
The thing,
It just irks me, man.
the
When you
thing
hate,
with the list though, the shit that gets me is like how quick people are to just like, oh, you do one little thing and then you shoot to the top. Like, okay, Joe Burrow was part of taking his team to the Super Bowl. So we just gonna gloss over the fact that he throwing a 10-yard slant pass to fucking Jamar Chase and he take the bitch 70 yards. So where does Jamar Chase get this credit at? Right? It ain't like he escaping the pocket, making deep throws or anything like that. And if my memory serves me correctly, if it wasn't for his defense actually stepping up, Joe Burrow wouldn't even been in the Super Bowl. It would have been the Los Angeles Rams versus the Kansas City Chiefs. So, I mean, what are we really saying here? Right? But y'all put him number 5 over the dude that beat him in the Super Bowl. And I mean, all he did all year was just throw short passes or throw lob passes to a dude, and he was able to come down with it. Shit's crazy.
the other thing that really irks me, the other component of this is something that Mike Tomlin talked about. When I saw him on a podcast. When he said, anytime I hear coaches talk about this player can't learn or this player can't do this, I always look at that coach, because as a coach you're supposed to be a teacher, and if you can't find a way to relate or to teach that player, I'm looking at you. Maybe your teaching sucks. Maybe your coaching sucks. Because think about this. As a coach, what do I want to do? I want to win, right? And if I have a piece that makes me even more dynamic, why wouldn't I want that piece as opposed to something statutory? So my point is, if I have a person that can run and throw, as a coach, wouldn't that make that piece more dynamic than just somebody that's just gonna sit there as a statue? But I have to open up my mind, and people have to realize, hey, there's more than one way to play quarterback. Because people have said in their head, hey, there's just one way you got to play quarterback like this. You got to sit back there. You got to be like Peyton Manning. You got to be like Tom Brady. You got to be like, no. Guess what? You have other ways to play quarterback. John Elway won Super Bowls. Guess what? Running around, scrambling. Any problem with him? I mean, he's still considered a great quarterback. So I think too many times they have these molds that they want to put people in, and when you have African American quarterbacks, like your Kyler Murrays, or individuals that can run and throw that are talented, you want to take something or detract away from them because they're talented and because they're gifted. Instead of using that as a negative, why don't you open up your mind or get better as a coach so you can put that player in a better position to be successful. Because if I'm a defensive coordinator and I got Lamar Jackson playing next week, I'm gonna be up all night because I'm like, man, this kid can beat you with his arm, and he can beat you with his legs. So, I mean, hey,
All right, let him keep hating. Hey, the team coming back healthy. Can't wait for us to get out there and run through the whole fucking league. I can't wait. And then he hoisting up the trophy. I'm gonna talk so much shit to every bitch ass motherfucker that ever had anything to say about Lamar Jackson. And y'all can hold that 8 in your mouth. Hold my
Whoa,
balls
whoa,
in
whoa,
your jaws,
whoa,
cuz.
whoa,
Off
whoa,
my boy
whoa,
Get off my
whoa,
boy LJ8. It's all
whoa
smoke,
there,
all gas,
whoa
no
there.
brakes.
All right, all right, all right. Time out, time out, time out. All right, you know what I'm saying? We moving into our last topic, you know what I'm saying? This has become a part of the show. This is the best thing that we've seen all week. So fellas, you know, what's the best thing that you've seen or heard all week?
sticking with the black quarterback thing, I got a chance to watch the episode of once again. I really like to pivot with Jamarcus Russell, and I had never heard his story from him, from him himself. And to me, it shed new light on the whole situation because you hear Jamarcus Russell, you automatically think, what, first round, first overall pick, of course. But I never knew the story, of the tragedy, the losses that he had in his life, and how he got started drinking lean, and the whole just the whole that whole situation. But it was a really actually a really good episode, and I learned a lot more about Jamarcus Russell. So that was definitely interesting learning more about him.
So the best thing I saw, actually, so on YouTube, I saw Emmanuel. Excuse me if I butcher his name, but Emmanuel Echo or Ho, and he has like this series called Uncomfortable Conversations,
Acho.
and yeah, Acho, yeah. And he had a really good episode where he was talking about he had four women on, varying uh, professions, like had some gold medalists, like a doctor, and all four women. And I think three of the women on the panel had abortions, and one was a pastor. And just basically having uncomfortable conversations where they tried to talk about the whole, Roe versus Wade getting overturned, and how it affects women, and just trying to characterize it in a different way. And I thought it was real interesting how, you know, they made a good point of, there's pro-life and then there's pro-abortion, and that propagandizing of it all, that positioning of all, it really does kind of like makes it so polarizing, trying to make it seem as if like, oh, if you're against abortions you are pro-life, and then to suggest that if you're anti, well, if you're pro-abortion, that you're somehow anti-life, or like versus like, you know, being pro-life as a woman, that's actually another form of being pro-life. You're pro your own life, or you're or just having a better life, and not necessarily bringing somebody else into a situation that otherwise might not be perfect, or even threatening your own life. And the stories that they told were very powerful. They did a great job of even introducing the church into it, and it just is a really great, a great, candid, emotional, and very well handled interview that he had with those four women. If I would invite anybody to watch his YouTube channel. It's another one he has where that he talks with Little Wayne that I want to watch sometime soon. But it was a really great show.
So, I say the best thing that I saw all week, I saw this wasn't really a special, it was just a little small documentary, kind of like a 30 for 30 that they had on Priest Holmes. And it's kind of like he was forgotten. And it's just so crazy to see, one, injuries, how it can plague you and stop you in your tracks, but how he overcame adversity. One, I did not know that he played at Texas with Ricky Williams. Two, got drafted by the Ravens. Of course, won the Super Bowl that they won back in 02. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 02, 01, one of the two. And how he was pretty much an afterthought. And him and I can't remember what the coach name was, the one who was with St. Louis. You know, he wanted to bring Priest Holmes in as his running back, and how he was just out there breaking records, bro, like crazy. And I knew Priest Holmes was a beast. I remember, you know, watching Priest Holmes, but like the numbers that he was putting up, 100 a book, you know, he was guaranteed to give you a $120 a game on the ground, and then probably another 100 receiving passes and stuff like that. And it's crazy to see that a dude that then broke Emmitt Smith's record in touchdowns for the year and did all the stuff that he did is not in the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? It's almost like he's just an afterthought. He's forgotten about. And then they even went out there and drafted Larry Hughes instead of drafting a defensive back when they needed to, and he still came out and shattered his record that he had the year before. So that's crazy. But I probably say that's the best thing that I saw all week.
Man, it's been an eventful weekend as far as just watching stuff for me. It's hard for me to pinpoint one thing. I'll say two things. I don't want to take up too much more time. But the first one is Bron playing in his first Drew League game, you know, in a few years. I thought it was pretty dope to see him play. And not just because it's Bron, but the Drew League kind of lost its luster a little bit during the pandemic because, you know, people weren't able to play. And like ever since the pandemic, before the pandemic, like everybody, the Drew League was really popular, and they even incorporated it in NBA Live one year, you know, and it was part of the game. And, you know, it was really picking up momentum because NBA players are going and playing in the Drew League. Like I think James Harden played, DeMar DeRozan is a player that plays in it pretty often. But, you know, after the pandemic, it seemed like it kind of lost its luster a little bit. And now Bron playing in it, I feel like it's going to bring attention back to the Drew League and, you know, allow, you know, them to get a little bit more shine. So I thought that was pretty dope just for that reason. And it was it was pretty cool to see him play against people, you know, that are amateur players, you know, and them, you know, guarding LeBron and, you know, trying their hardest, you know, and they wasn't backing down. So that was dope, you know, to see, you know, guys. I'm not gonna call them normal guys because a lot of them guys are pretty good basketball players. But you know, when you're talking about LeBron and DeMar DeRozan and Kyrie, these are like the best of the best playing like against janitors. You know what I'm saying? Basically, for lack of a better word. You know what I'm saying? So, but that was one of the things. And the other thing that I saw was The Black Phone. Me and my wife watched the movie called The Black Phone this weekend, and it's a really good movie. It's about a serial killer called The Grabber. I believe Ethan Hawke is the leading character, and it's about a serial killer that's kidnapping little kids and killing them. And he kidnaps this one kid, and he plays this little game with the kids, you know, where they have to do something naughty before he kills them. And the kid was actually a really good kid, so he never really did anything naughty. You know, so he couldn't kill the kid, so he just kept him in his basement. And the kid was wondering like why he never tried to kill him. And it was they called it the black phone because, long story short, there's a black phone in the basement, and the phone rings, and the kid can hear all of the victims of that the guys killed. He can hear the victims on the phone, and so he tries to escape, and that was his bad thing. And basically, you know, he ended up killing the dude. And hey, just watch the movie; it's a really good movie. Okay. You know, I don't want to tell the whole movie, but it's a really good movie. And
seems like it just didn't.
Yeah.
I kind of did tell the movie, but you know.
Well, I mean, let's be real. All movies usually end with the bad guy dying, so like that's not too much to support.
But it was a pretty cool movie. You know, different from what I've seen before. So I would definitely recommend seeing it. Probably not going to the movies to see it, but I mean, if you can buy it or nigga, get your Kodi app on and, you know, watch it. You know, don't ban us, YouTube. I'm just saying, you know, sometimes people struggling out here. It's inflation. It's all kind of stuff going on. Gas, damn near $6. You know what I'm saying? That's it.
You apologize. That boy said, "Go get your Kodi." I mean, YouTube don't ban us. Like, shit, they got to do. Yeah, fuck.
But anyway, man, you reached the end of the episode, man. again, we appreciate y'all tuning in and rocking with us. And we just want to let y'all know that this is the last episode that y'all will see on this platform. RIP to StreamYard. The next time you see us, hopefully the content will be much more improved. And you know what I'm saying? We plan on doing some big things moving on. And I also believe, is this our 1 year anniversary or our 1 year anniversary, or we're coming up on our 1 year anniversary? You know, we've been doing this for 1 year. So y'all congratulate us in the comments. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people ain't this consistent. A lot of people would stop. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I appreciate all these guys, man. It's been a hell of a ride, you know, a hell of a year. And, you know, I'm looking forward to you know, many more, you know, doing this and just getting better. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? Like we always say, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, tell your friend to tell a friend, you know what I'm saying? And you know, we're trying to get out there, so just support your boys, man. And yeah, we about to get up out this thing. I'm gonna let my boy Lil Slaw dude come in and do what he do. And peace.
Well, as the saying goes, and this will be the last time StreamYard gets to hear this, as the saying goes, if you did not fill us this time, you're guaranteed to fill us the next. Now get the fuck off my motherfucking screen!